Hi friends! Martha here. Gavin and I just got back from a big road trip across the province and we thought this would be a really good time to share with you guys some of our top road tripping tips. These aren't silly wanderlust Buzzfeed tips about pick the best music, make sure you've got really good snacks. I mean, everybody knows that. These are legit tips to make sure that you're planning a road trip that's going to be safe, it's going to be fun, and it's going to make sure you have a really great holiday. These tips don't just apply to people looking in Newfoundland. These tips are for every road trip you will ever go on for the rest of your life. Tip 1. Don't assume you know what the roads are going to be like. We get this all the time as we have people coming from all over North America and all over Europe. People often don't really know what the difference is between driving in a very populated area to a very not populated area. And there's not many places that get as not populated as Newfoundland. There's not as many people. The roads are really small and they're slower moving when you get behind a truck because you can't overtake whenever you want because there's only one lane. Also, they're not roads that are designed to go really, really fast. You have more corners and you have to pay more attention than you would, let's say, than on the 401. Driving at nighttime, the roads aren't lit up. There's no lights on our highways. They end up being much more work and much more tiring to drive on. Definitely when you're planning a road trip, make sure that you take into consideration that the roads you're going to be driving on are not the same as the ones that you drive every single day. When you're coming out to a rural area, expect the roads to be much smaller, expect them to be not as well maintained, expect them to not have lights on them, and expect them to probably only be one lane wide. 2. Think about animals. This may sound kind of odd, but in the same way as learning about the kinds of roads you're going to be driving on, learn about the kind of hazards you can expect to encounter. When you're looking at renting vehicles, people often go for the smaller ones because they're more economical, but those ones are sometimes the more scary ones to be in when you come across a massive animal right in front of you on a highway. In Newfoundland, we have a lot of moose. We also have bears. We also have caribou. So all of these things are the kind of things that people need to know about when you're planning a long road trip, prepared to encounter wildlife. In Newfoundland, most locals don't drive that much at nighttime, especially not long drives on country highways. It's just too dangerous. That's not the case for everywhere you're going to plan a road trip. There are lots of places in the world where you're not going to come in contact with any wildlife on long late night drives, but definitely it's a good thing to keep in mind. Tip number 3, don't underestimate your break time. A lot of people will look at a map and they'll say, okay, I'll be there by 5 o'clock. That gives us a nice time for a walk. Maybe we can go out for dinner. People will need to pee lots usually. You're gonna be there at like 8 o'clock. So maybe make sure you pick up food ahead of time for dinner, especially in a rural community. By the time it hits 8 o'clock, restaurants could already be closed. In a 3-hour window, we would be stopping for maybe half an hour. So think about that. I mean, if you're planning a 9-hour trip, that's a lot of time you need to calculate in for stopping. We're not talking an hour for lunch. We're talking probably more like 2 hours, if not a little bit more. If you've got kids, like go ahead and double that. You're gonna have to stop for food, and you can't control how long that's gonna take, and you're gonna have to stop for pee breaks. You're probably gonna have to stop to refuel, and I mean, hell, you might have to stop to take some pretty photos. The scenery here is lovely. Number 4, please, 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 please trust the locals. I don't understand this. I mean, I don't understand why people always think that the local knowledge is not the best knowledge. I hate to break it to you guys, the internet can be wrong. I mean, straight up, it can be wrong. How do I know this? Because I'm one of the people that writes on the internet. And if I get shit wrong, it's just plain wrong. If a local tells you something, it's probably true and it's probably right, and they've probably been doing this drive way longer than you have. So if they're telling you it's gonna take an hour to get somewhere, believe them. It's gonna take an hour to get there. I have some big news for the internet. Google Maps is not always correct. Google Maps depends on addresses. So if you live somewhere where you don't have an address, like say rural Newfoundland, then Google Maps is not gonna help find you. Where I live and where the business is and where most of my friends live, we do not have addresses. This makes it really hard for software like Google Maps to find us. Most websites, especially booking websites, require that a business puts in an address. So what do you do when you don't actually have one? You make one up. This, I realize, is super weird for people who live areas where addresses are like automatic. If you have a building, you have an address. In rural areas, that's not always the case. This goes back to the whole it's a very small population thing. The first couple of years that I lived here, literally the local delivery man would call me and he'd say, "Where are you?" And I'd say, "Well, we're in the blue one beyond the school." "Oh, okay." Every single time it would blow my mind that he would be able to find us, and he found us every single time. And if you live in a rural area and you don't have an address, then you can't write in the blue one beyond the school because Google Maps that can't do anything with that. When a local tells you how to get there, they give you driving directions, follow them. Don't look up online and say, well, the internet tells me that this place is listed at number 1 Main Street. I have a confession. Number 1 Main Street is everybody's address if they don't have an address. I'm not saying every single time you see an address, get suspicious and think, oh, that's probably not the real address. I'm just saying that if a local tells you that's not a real address, believe them. Believe the locals. Tip number 5. So this tip is gonna seem weird because I think most people who are planning road trips are assuming that it's gonna be a really good time, but I have to say it. If you're planning a road trip, make sure it's gonna be fun. And not just fun for you, fun for everybody that's coming with you. We have a lot of people who've got a 4-day trip planned to Newfoundland, and they've decided that one of the people is gonna be driving for like 10 hours one day, and then like 4 hours the next day, and then like 4 hours the day after that, and then maybe another like 6 hours on the last day. Like, that does not sound like a very fun trip to me. I mean, I don't know where you're from, that's a normal amount of driving, but I live in a rural area and that sounds like a pretty shitty time. So this is why I'm saying make sure you'll enjoy it. Driving is not for everybody, and long distance driving is something that you have to get used to. It's not something you can just like switch on. It takes time, it takes practice. And unless you're a truck driver, which if you are, kudos, that's a really hard job, you're gonna find it exhausting. It doesn't matter how good the tunes are that you've picked or how amazing the snacks are that you've brought with you. Driving on rural, poorly lit, windy roads where there's moose on the sides of the highways is exhausting. And I can tell you that from experience. Again, listening to locals. Don't plan for it to be a holiday where you're literally in the car the whole time. Plan for it to be a holiday where you're doing a little bit of driving to get to see new places. And if you've only got a couple of days to visit somewhere, don't spend the whole time in the car. You may as well not have come. You could be anywhere in the world if you're literally just touring highways. Make sure that you plan your holiday so it's not all in the car. Or you're just not really gonna have a very good time. And then, I mean, what's the point of being on holiday after all? These have been my top 5 tips on planning a road trip. And like I said, although I'm doing it in the context of Newfoundland, these tips apply for every road trip. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're going to the States, Australia, anywhere in Canada, hell, India, I don't care. I hope you guys have found this helpful. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think. What kind of content you guys want. Stay tuned, we're going to be putting up a whole bunch of videos both about Newfoundland, about the hostel, and just general traveling tips. So stay tuned for more videos. Can't wait to talk to you then. Bye!